days, the entire world shut down. And I mean, for me personally, being a professional chef, I mean, certainly shook my life up a bit because, I mean,
what do you have to do? Like, what do you have to do right now as far as like, obviously you have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Is cleaning like off the chain?
Well, here's the thing is that I felt like people were so worried about sanitation being an issue when it came to eating out and dining out, and also even just ordering food carry out. And I said this from the jump, is that office buildings were still allowed to be open and have employees coming in. Eventually a lot of them transitioned to their staff working from home. But restaurants were actually very well suited to be able to adjust to this as by way of sanitation, because the thing is that if you're running your business well, if you're doing your job, which every place I've worked at has, then you're already one of the most sanitary workplaces. We're constantly washing our hands. We're wearing gloves. We're changing our gloves.
You don't handle food without washing your hands and wearing gloves, right?
Exactly. So it's already incredibly sanitary. We're cleaning constantly, and our cleaning process at the end of the day is very stringent. We wipe down every surface, we clean every surface, sanitize everything. And I thought it was interesting that offices were not put on blast the way restaurants sort of were, because if you think about
blast,
it, well, it just people acted as if the transfer of food from worker to customer was somehow unsafe and unsanitary. And people were afraid to be able to like, I mean, even still, people are afraid to dine out.
Oh, for sure.
And people were hesitant to even order carry out at first, and I mean, I can tell you times where customers acted as if we were being unsafe just because of pure paranoia.
Like there's this mass and I guess I understand it, and media doesn't really help, they're scaring the shit out of people, like this mass paranoia, and like people are really scared to get this.
Yeah.
So you've had like customers blow up on you, or like?
Well, I mean, I can tell you one specific instance where we had, so my manager was, this was while we were still only doing carry out only business. At the very height of
And you're
lockdown.
doing dine-in now?
Yeah. At this point, we're doing dine-in at 25% capacity, which is lower than what Milwaukee has allowed. Milwaukee allows for 50% capacity, but we stay below that, partially because we're capable of doing it, largely in part due to carry-out business still being booming, but also we want to continue to be safe. That may or may not evolve as the seasons change, partially due to our capacity being, not our capacity, but the arrangement of our seating changing because we can't have outdoor seating as much. We're trying to allow for that, but thing is that that's kind of where everybody's going. So we need to, get something that we can have for customers so that they are able to stay warm, heating outside. So we're trying to transition into this winter season very differently than we ever have before. But there was one specific instance where our manager was bringing out some food to a customer curbside, and as our manager was walking up with her food, the customer had her window rolled down, but she kind of shied away at first, and then we saw a review later on Yelp where the customer said, basically put us all on blast, and was like, this is, they're practicing unsafe procedures. They're not practicing proper sanitation or social distancing, and literally said that our staff member, which was our manager at the time, charged at her car. That was the way that she described it. Yeah, she literally used the word
like a
charge.
rhino, like she was.
Yeah, like a ram, like in mating season, just charge headlong into towards her car, and was like, oh, she was very aggressive and all of this. And like, none of that was ever true.
Mm-hmm. People got so sensitive.
Exactly. People got incredibly sensitive. People got incredibly paranoid.
Not that they shouldn't be, but like you're explaining, like to the point where it's like
irrational.
Yeah, we got to calm down just a little bit, guys. We got to be rational about this.
Exactly. And this is something that is bothered myself on a lot of levels for a little while. And I mean,
people being like up in arms about like
incredibly irrational about all of it, and on both ends. There are the people who are like the denialists, who are like, this isn't even real. Yeah, it's a conspiracy, that kind of a thing. Or even people who are like, oh, I don't need to wear a mask, blah blah blah. Or I
don't infringe on my rights.
Exactly. Yeah. And there was another instance too where we had a lady come in, and she picked up an order for carryout. And our server, we are very conscientious of making sure that when a customer is handed a menu, that menu comes back to us, we sanitize it immediately before it's handed to another customer. But sometimes a customer will leave the menu on the counter, and another customer will walk up and will just think they can just grab it. Yeah, just grab it. Our server graciously offered this woman a sanitized menu, and her response was, oh no, it's okay, I already had COVID, so it's fine. For one, red flag. right away, but not necessarily, because for me, it's not like a red flag in the sense of you're being dangerous. It's a red flag in the sense that you just aren't thinking properly.
In what way?
Well, so far, nothing has been proven that says that you can't contract COVID twice.
Yeah, there are a lot of cases where people have
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. There are cases where people have.
In some countries, like up to 14% have gotten COVID again.
Yeah, and so that's one thing. So it's not like you get it and you're immune. But it's also a red flag just in the sense, to me, where it's like, you're so self-absorbed. You're only thinking about the fact that, like, okay, I already had COVID, I'm not going to get, or even if you're not necessarily afraid that you're going to get it again, you're like, well, I survived it once. Like, if I get it again, then it's nothing. That's ignorant on your part, because you could pass it on to somebody else who could be at risk.
Definitely.
So, and this is another thing too. And I mentioned to you right before we went on that I have a friend who is in the healthcare industry. She's a nurse. She was a nurse at Columbia St. Mary's. She's going to be working at the VA starting on Monday. Lisette Pineda, shout out. But her being close to this issue, and I have other friends as well who are in the healthcare industry that I work with. So I've been able to kind of get a gauge on where they're at,
like, and what they see going
exactly, and more of the reality. The thing, and this is something that isn't, well, a lot of the things that I'm being told by them isn't something that's being told in the public. The public isn't hearing this and seeing this. For instance, you need to, in order